Pine Barncaster build, part 1. Hey, JT here with Living Analog. It's like 110 degrees outside. I live in Phoenix. My wife and I moved here in 2013 from St. Louis, Missouri. In my first year here, I started really getting into Pine Telecasters. Fender, way back in the day, some of their original Telecasters were made out of pine. As I understand it, Leo Fender decided not to go forward with using pine because they were easy to dent, and sometimes the sap could mess with the paint, things of that nature. Plus, it's a really soft wood. So I became interested in making one myself. And that's what the next few videos are going to be about. This is my Pine Barncaster that I put together my first year in Phoenix. The first video is going to be about the body, the pine body, and what it took to get it stained and coated and lacquered. Enjoy. So for me, this all started when I saw a YouTube video of Bill Kirchen. He had a pine Telecaster built for him by Carmine Street Guitars in New York. And they build their pine Telecasters out of 200-year-old reclaimed Bowery wood, which is incredible. So the first thing I did was I went onto eBay and I started searching for pine Telecaster bodies, which you can find. The one I found was absolutely incredible. You can see in its raw form that it has just so many colors. And it has big, crazy spots on it. All this uncured sap. It was incredible. You'll see in one of the pictures, the cavity for the electronics is actually cut out in the back. My guess is they wanted to optimize the surface area up front. There's lots of holes in it. There's parts of it that are grayed out, and there's this giant spot on the front that makes me think of the spot on Jupiter. I can't remember what I paid for it. It was probably a couple $100, but I was very impressed with the quality. Now that I had the body, I had to figure out what to do with it. I didn't want to change the way it looked. More, I really wanted to enhance the way it looked. I wanted to bring out those natural colors. So I got a bunch of pieces of scrap pine and started to experiment. One option was going with a kind of driftwood bleached out effect, which should pronounce the dark coloring more heavily. To get this, I mixed ebony and natural stain together at a 1:6 ratio. So 1 part ebony to 6 parts natural. Here's a pic of the little stained guys in my bigger mixing bucket. I use Minwax wood finish. The result on my pine test board was pretty great, as the mixture really penetrated the grain and brought out hidden features as well. The other option I landed on is just going with a straight natural stain. I did this for my first guitar build. It adds a slight yellowing to the grain, and while it overall darkened the pine, it didn't necessarily show any kind of hidden details. So after much hem-hawing, pissing, and moaning, I decided to go with my wife's advice and apply the 1:6 ebony natural mix. And here are the results. This really worked perfectly. as the ebony really penetrated all the cracks and imperfections and even brought out a few features that were otherwise invisible. I'm so glad that this mix didn't mask those dark features. When we were living back in St. Louis, it would literally take at least 7 to 10 days for stain to fully penetrate my guitar bodies, given the heavy Midwest humidity. Here in Arizona, that process cuts down to about 2 to 3 days, which is awesome. So now, with the stain applied, we come to my first attempt at a nitrocellulose spray lacquer finish. And for that I used Balin stringed instrument lacquer. These you have to order special. You're not going to be able to find these at the store around the corner. If you want to use nitrocellulose lacquer, you gotta warm it up in hot tap water. Otherwise it'll spatter and fart out big globs, and it may just do that anyway from my experience. The plan I developed was to spray 9 to 12 coats, 2 to 3 coats a day, about 1 to 2 hours apart. And from what I had read, this would allow the layers to melt into each other. I would hold the guitar flat, spraying about 1 foot from the body with the can at a slight angle. I started and ended each spray away from the body, doing a cross hatch pattern on the front and back. Look up Will Kelly on YouTube for more details. I sure did. Once it cured for about 14 days, I wet sanded it using 600 to 2500 grit sandpaper to get it smooth and shiny. I would wet the sandpaper and the body down with a detergent water mix. Again, look up Will Kelly's videos. They really helped me out a lot. Needless to say, I was very pleased with the end result. I even brought the guitar body in the house and put it under some lighting next to my records to show all these ridiculous colors. Take a look at the close-up of the big red spot. Next up, I'm going to show you how I put the rest of the guitar together and give a quick overview of how I relicked all the metal parts. If you like what you see, please subscribe, give me a like, and I'll see you next time.